peeps, welcome to another video. Today it is my let's recreate the Rixo dress using French Poetry's Lune dress pattern adventure. So this is the Rixo dress. My best friend brought this to my attention probably, oh wow, 3 years ago now, and asked if I could recreate something similar for her, and I said yeah, sure, of course. And I bought the fabric, which you can see just there. It's actually the Mopsy Fun, so hers is going to be slightly different to the original dress, but she approved that fabric and approved the pattern. She will not let me measure her. Now obviously for about 2.5 years I didn't see her, but I saw her for my birthday and she still would not let me measure her. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to make my own. I'm going to take a photo of myself in it, I'm going to send it to her and go, look how gorgeous this is, let me make you one. In fact, she tried on a lot of my clothes while she was up here. It's just something that we've done. I've known Tatty for 24 years now, 25 years? A long time. She is my bestest friend. It's just something we've always done, is like whenever she comes over, I always have far more clothes than anyone ever needs, and so she always sort of like goes through, tries things on and experiments. I thought what I would do is make this dress up, send her the photo of like, look how nice it is, and then actually maybe send her the dress to try on. This one is for me, Natasha, if you ever watch this, but I will make you another one with the fabric that I bought for you. And just see if she is more willing to let me actually make it for her now, because she's got 2 presents outstanding from about the last sort of 3 years, and I would like to get them made. So I am going to be using these fabrics. Now this is a fabric that you guys have seen everywhere. It came in this colorway, the turquoise and the red. This is the second lot of green that I've had. I made an Eve dress, my very first Eve dress actually, which turns out was too big for me, and Big Bird now has, but I absolutely love it, and I found some more of it, so I bought some more of it, and I was going to recreate the Eve dress. I've got 3 meters there. I'm not going to do that because I saw this Rixo dress, and then I also have what actually feels like an awful lot of this black polka dot. I thought I'd only bought like 1 meter of it, but it feels like I've got 2 or 3 meters of it here. This will be the top and this will be the bottom of the Rixo inspired dress. Now obviously not exactly the same. The splodges on the Rixo dress are a lot more uneven and irregular than this polka dot. Obviously very different floral on the bottom as well, but I think that this will give a very kind of good, like, this is what I was going for with this particular combination. It's very much inspired by Rixo. The other thing is, I'm not sure about the sleeves. The French Poetry Lune dress comes with fitted, I think they're 3/4 length sleeves, or you can make it sleeveless with little bows on the top. So I think what I'm going to do is make myself some flutter sleeves, which is literally a case of slashing and spreading the fitted sleeve until it has the amount of fullness in it that I want. So that's what I'm thinking I'm going to do for this one. I've had this printed by Net Printers, and I need to get the pieces ironed flat so that I can trace it off. I am going in gung-ho with my good fabric from the get-go, because I have good feelings about this. This could be a very stupid thing to do. I can get more of the fabric if I need to. Neither of these fabrics were expensive. If these were Lady McElroy viscoses, I would definitely be making a muslin first, but it would be out of this kind of fabric, because I think this one cost me £5 per metre, and this is from the Textile Centre and it was £4 per metre. So, you know, this is nice quality, inexpensive viscose. So it's going to be a wearable muslin. I can get more of both of them if it fluffs up. Hopefully it won't fluff up. Wish me luck. Now it's time to sew. I am actually going to follow the instructions. The first thing it says to do is sew up the bodice. Usually I would do the skirt first, but they are doing this slightly differently to how I would. In fact, you know what? No, I'm going to sew the skirt first with French seams and bias bind the centre back seam where the zip's going to go. Then I'll make the bodice, and as always I'm going to do the skirt first because it is going to drop on the bias. It is something that the pattern says it will happen. So by getting it sewn first and getting it hung up back there, it will mean that I give it as much chance as possible to actually let that bias do its thing before I have to level the hem out. Skirt first. French seam spaghetti. Okay, I have a skirt that does need its bias binding on the back, and then I have the start of a bodice. Actually that's got the sleeves on as well, and the sleeves, it's all been fully lined and French, well not French seamed, bagged out on the inside. So It's interesting the way it gets sewn to the skirt. It gets sewn in 2 pieces. This doesn't get sewn together to start with, so I am going to bind the edges of the back of the skirt, do a little bit of top stitching on this front section that they've asked me to do, and then try and attach the bodice. It is going together fairly quickly. I think it's going to fit. Having held these up over my chest, I think I've done the right kind of alterations. I think. We shall see. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Okay, day 2 of the making of this, or day 3 in total, because the first day was tracing and cutting it out. I have bodice in 2 parts. I have a skirt that's almost finished. It just needs its bias binding completed, and then I'm going to attempt to try and put them together. So let's get started. Okay, I've got the bodice, or the bodices, onto the skirt. I have done it twice because there was this much too much fabric under the bust. I kind of erred on the side of I wanted more rather than less, because I can always take away but I could never add. I took it off. I've taken out about 1 inch under the bust and it's now sitting a lot better. It is still slightly too big though, so I'm going to sew the zip into this one with a larger seam allowance at the back, which I hope will compensate for that. Then I will just adjust the pattern accordingly to kind of take that into account. I've done what I said I was going to do as well. I've treated it as a lining rather than as one piece. So I now need to press up the raw edge of my lining and slip stitch that down. In fact, I'm going to put the zip in first and then I'm going to sort out the lining because of the way that I like to put the zip in. So it will be enclosed at the top and then just open at the bottom. So I'm gonna get that done. It's finished. Before I show you the reveal though, I thought I would show you how I transfer over the alterations that I've made to the actual dress to the paper pattern. So let's go. Okay, so I think as you've seen in the previous clips, I ended up having to take about 1 inch out of the underbust area, and so I can tell which it is because I've got the notches in it still. So I ended up taking about that much out from the pattern. So I've kept my little offcut and I'm gonna roughly trace around it here. Like, I added 3 inches because when I measured that's how it came up, but I definitely didn't need quite that much under the bust, but I would have rather have had more than less. So currently I've now added 2 inches under the bust and then 1 inch of length at the side. I do like where the back sits on me. I don't know if that's how it's meant to sit, but I do like it. The other thing is as well, I moved the gathering points because I actually ended up putting in a lot more gathers because I've elongated this area here. Usually it's much flatter, so I've put in more fabric, as it were, so I need to gather that extra fabric up. I've done a full bust adjustment. Now that I have adjusted the bottom edge, cut that excess off, and I like to do this as I have made the dress so that I don't forget, because it's really easy to forget what you've done. So let's just say 2 inches added. Then the other thing I found was that the side seams were way too big, so I ended up taking off 3/8 of an inch at the side seam at the bottom. So I'm going to just take that out as well, and I'm going to do the same for the front and the back. This one's a little bit different because this is a very curved seam down here, so I want to freehand that up like that. So I've taken 3/8 of an inch off both of the side seams now, so that one's done. Then I also ended up taking off about an extra 5/8 of an inch from the back, and I'm actually only going to take 1/2 inch off because again, I want to err on the side of caution, and I can always put my zipper in further, which is what I did with the last one. I'm taking 5/8 of an inch off of this. These are quite subtle adjustments. 3/8 of an inch off of the waist of both of the side seams, 1/2 inch off of the centre back seam, and then the biggest adjustment is that excess full bust that I've added in and taken away. So now that the bodice is done, I need to make it so that the skirt's going to match up. So this is the skirt centre front, and actually on mine I've got this little bit here. Rather than the two bodices coming to a point, I've ended up with like a little flat bit at the top, which is fine, but looking at the pattern and the finished garment images, I think that the bodices are meant to meet. I actually have taken in the front quite a lot on the dress, so I'm going to take a little bit off of this one. So having measured the dress, it's 1/4 of an inch, because the little tab at the top is 1/2 an inch. So I'm going to take 1/4 of an inch off of the front edge, and then I'm going to take the 3/8 of an inch off of the side seam, because I took that off of the bodice, so I want to match it up. And I'm going to grade it out to nothing because I want to keep as much flare in this skirt as possible. And 3/8 of an inch off of both sides turns into 1.5 inches out of the hip in total. I'm cutting the centre front completely straight because this is the straight of grain, so that is a straight edge. But this one I'm kind of like taper it out, so let's get those cut out. Oh, and make sure that the notches are transferred over. So that's the skirt front done. Skirt back, I am going to take off the 1/2 inch that I've taken off of the bodice back, and again this is the straight edge, the on grain edge, so I want to maintain this straight edge as much as possible, so just gonna take that off. This one's a little bit more difficult because they've done the flattening out of the seam allowance there so that it matches up perfectly, and I want to take out 3/8 of an inch. Again, I want to kind of take it out without distorting or taking too much out of the hips as well. So I need to take it out there, and then I need to just jig over the seam allowance little, because this, I don't know if you can see, but this bit here is flat and then it goes into the curve, and this is the seam allowance, which is 5/8 of an inch. Yes, so I'm going to take this little bit of paper off, move it over and redraw that 5/8 of an inch flat piece that then goes into the curve. That might seem really kind of like pedantic to do, but it does, this little flat bit here does help the seam allowances match up nicely, which I like. So now that that's all done, it's reveal time. This dress is almost finished. It does need hemming. The bias needs to drop. I haven't done that yet. I'm probably going to leave it for a week, just so you know. I love this dress. I absolutely love how it's turned out. It is quite cleavage-tastic, but not as low cut as some 7974. I'm looking at you. I really like how it fits and then flares. There is no proper waist seam at the front. It's a really interesting construction. The instructions are minimal and very basically illustrated, but they will 100% get you this finished result. I did do mine a little differently. I sewed up the skirt first and the skirt side seams. The side seams are one of the last things that the instructions ask you to do, but I personally prefer putting my dresses together this way. And I also then didn't treat the bodice front and lining as one piece. I treated them as separate pieces and turned under the hem allowance and slip stitched it into place. It was a little bit of a pain around the gathered area, but it totally works and it's totally doable, and I'm really happy with how the inside of this looks. The seaming on the inside of this is interesting because I did have to take a lot in at the waist to get it to fit as it does, and it still skims. It's not too tight. I love this fit. I think it's come out really, really well. I didn't put any silk organza into the neckline to stop it from stretching out. What I did instead was draft 1 inch wide facing pieces that I cut out of interfacing. I kept the pattern pieces on the fabric until I was ready to sew. Then I stay stitched the front neckline and the back neckline. Then I interfaced the outer pieces with the interfacing strips that I had cut, and it's worked out really well. These have not stretched out on the bias or anything, which is something that the pattern does say. And the reason I did that is because I don't have any silk organza in stock, so I had to improvise, and this is what I came up with, and it's worked really well. It doesn't feel like it's going to fall off my shoulders. I do like the fact that they have given you a high neck back option. I think that's something that it could be worth having a look at, especially for the cooler months, because I can totally see myself making a longer sleeved version of this, which would then be kind of mid-calf length, making it in maybe a slightly heavier fabric for the cooler months, because it is a very, very pretty dress. I love the flutter sleeves. I didn't show you how I've done this, but I have done a slash and spread tutorial in this sew along, which is chaptered, so you can go to that bit if you want to see that. That is for a skirt, but the same principle applies to the sleeves. And if you guys are interested, then I will do a standalone how to make a flutter sleeve out of a straight sleeve video if you would like, and I'll add it to the mini tutorial series. I also think this looks very much like the Rixo dress, with a few tweaks to make it something that I'd actually wear. I'm really, really, really grateful to my best friend for bringing this dress to my attention. I think I first saw it on a vlogger that oh gosh, I can't remember her name, but I know she has this dress. I think I saw it on her. I thought, oh, that was nice. And then when Tatty was just like, I really want to own this dress, but I can't afford the price tag, could you make me something similar? I was like, yes I can. I'm kind of hoping when I send her the photos of this that she'll be like, oh, actually, yeah, that looks pretty good. I might even send her this one to try on and see if it fits her, because if it does, then I mean, it's probably not going to need to be quite so big in the boobs, but other than that, I would imagine that this one will fit her pretty well, because all of my other clothes that she tried on when she came to visit earlier this year for my birthday fit her pretty well. So yeah, I might send her this one to try on. Although again, I think I said this at the beginning of the video, Natasha, if you watch this, this is my dress. I will make you one, but this one's mine. I will make more Lune dresses. I think that this is a lovely shape. I'd be really interested to see how I like it when it's all one colour. As I say, I want to make a shorter long sleeve version for the winter, and it will probably be a kind of bishop sleeve with a cuff or elasticated channel at the bottom of the sleeve. I don't like straight sleeves. I just don't like them on me. It's just not my thing. So I will probably add on floofy long sleeves, and I would like a sleeveless one with the little detachable ties at the top, and that one would be a maxi. I think this is going to be a great dress for the summer months, because whilst it's skimming, there is no actual waist seam to properly like constrict and cinch you in, so it really does feel lovely. So yeah, all in all, I'm really, really happy with this. The wearable muslin has come out a winner. I've made the adjustments to the pattern. It's going to be interesting to see how the next one comes out, and if you need to make any further tweaks to the pattern, because I think I've transferred over everything I did, but we shall see. So yeah, let me know in the comments down below what you think. Would you make a spotty floral combination dress? Did you like the original? How do you think I've done for kind of recreating something similar that I would wear? I would be very interested to hear what you think in the comments down below. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't yet, please subscribe, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye!